The city's not dying. It's transforming. Every corner we turn, Philly's less like a place and more like a trap. The Hollow isn't just a myth. It's here, breathing, changing the rules. Zombies aren't the worst part anymore. Now there's things that move like shadows, smooth-faced, silent, and watching, and they don't eat. They take. We're not running from the dead anymore. We're running from something older, something hungry. Part 2 of Zombie Chronicles. Philadelphia starts now. And if you're listening, stay low, stay quiet, and don't look at the sky too long. Zombie Chronicles, Philadelphia. Signs of the Hollow. The depot felt like a graveyard, not because of the dead, but because of the quiet. That kind of quiet only happens in a place where people used to be loud, where lives buzzed, machines hummed, and orders got barked from catwalks. Now, all that was left was decay and a strange kind of attention, like the walls themselves were listening. We didn't stay long. Vic grabbed a SEPTA-issued flashlight and a rail map. There's a way to cut through Bartram's village, might get us near the river. I nodded, still stuck on the family photo we'd found Camille's name scribbled on the back. Summer 2018, smiling in a time that felt like fiction now. I pocketed it. We slipped out a side door, careful not to draw attention. The air outside was worse, thicker, like the oxygen itself had rotted. The dawn hadn't broken all the way yet, but a big pale moon still clung to the sky like it didn't want to leave. The streets were crawling. Zombies, dozens of them, drifted down Woodland Ave like they were looking for a parade they missed. Some bumped into each other, others twitched. One stood still, staring straight up at the moon with a smile on its half-torn face. We moved low, ducking behind abandoned cars, hiding in broken entryways. Our boots splashed in puddles of blood and busted soda cans. We didn't speak, not even when we passed a woman with her baby still strapped to her chest, both of them still untouched, like whatever killed them had no interest in them. As we cut through an alley near 58th Street, something caught my eye: spray paint. Bright red. The Hollow is here. Below it, a triangle and an open eye. The same ones from the mirror. The same ones from Camille's voice. I turned to Vic. You see this? He stared at it a little too long before answering. Yeah, I've seen it before. Chester, Norristown, Camden. Same symbols, same paint. What does it mean? He exhaled slowly. Means we're already inside it. We crossed a broken bridge over a SEPTA rail, path-twisted metal and gravel everywhere. Someone had tried to blow the bridge, but failed. Only one side had collapsed. We took the other. Midway across, we heard movement. Not slow and dragging like the infected. Footsteps. Running. I spun around, weapon raised, and caught sight of a figure sprinting toward us. A young woman. Black hoodie. Jeans torn at the knee. Blood across her temple. She wasn't infected. Not yet. Help, she screamed. Please. I ran toward her. That's when I saw what was behind her. Not zombies. They looked like people, but not anymore. Their skin was too smooth, almost plastic. Their movements were unnatural, glitchy, like frames skipping in a video. They didn't growl, they didn't scream. They just ran. Silent, 5 of them, no eyes. Just glowing red light where pupils should have been. Vic shouted, Run! The girl nearly collided with me. I grabbed her arm and dragged her across the bridge. One of the smooth-faced freaks lunged, but Vic spun and blasted it off the edge with the shotgun. We didn't stop running until we reached a junkyard near Lindbergh BLV. Inside, we took cover behind a pile of wrecked cars. The girl introduced herself. Sierra, I'm from Gray's Ferry. My brother was with me. He didn't... She broke off. Vic stood by the fence, scanning the yard. Those weren't normal infected. I nodded. Too fast, too clean, like they were programmed. Sierra shivered. They came out of nowhere. No sound, no smell, just showed up. That word echoed in my mind. Hollow. Maybe it wasn't a place. Maybe it was what happened after the infection. A second stage. A signal. A possession. As the sky finally broke open with morning light, we sat in silence, 3 strangers bound by blood, death, and the creeping truth that something else had entered Philadelphia. Something using the outbreak as cover. And it was learning fast. You ever feel like a place is watching you? Not someone in the place itself. That's how Philly felt now. Not angry, not even evil, just alert. We crept through Southwest, sticking to the sides of buildings, ducking between dead cars and alley trash. Me, Vic, and Sierra didn't say much. We didn't have to. The look on Sierra's face-tight jaw, red eyes, head on a swivel said everything. She was already further along in this hell than we were. We passed a playground on 58th. The jungle gym was bent like someone sat a car on top of it. The swing swayed on its own, slow and steady. No wind. That's when Sierra stopped. What? I asked. She pointed. There's blood in the slide. Sure enough, a slick red smear glistened at the base of the plastic tunnel. A few small handprints dried into the sand pit beneath. Kid? Vic asked. Sierra shook her head. Or something using kids. We kept moving. Down Lindbergh toward an old church I used to pass every day. The big one with the red doors and cracked bell tower. Now it looked hollowed out, burned from the inside. The stained glass was shattered, and a black banner flapped in the breeze. The hollow nose. Vic whispered, What the hell is the hollow? I don't think it's a what, I said. I think it's a where. We ducked into a fenced lot behind a check cashing place used to be my shortcut home back when life was normal. Now the grass was high and sharp, hiding twisted wire, bones, and what looked like a blood-soaked sleeping bag. An old portable radio sat beside a melted jug of water. It blinked once, then repeated on a loop. Atlanta, repeat, Atlanta is safe. Do not enter mirrors. Do not. Then static. Vic sat down beside it, rubbing the sweat from his face. We ain't gonna make it to Atlanta, he muttered. I didn't argue, not because I agreed, but because I didn't want to say he was right. Camille's heading there, I finally said. She's alive. I know it. Sierra looked up. You keep saying that. How? I hesitated, then told her everything about the mirror, about the voice, about how I saw her not like a memory, but real. Vic didn't react. Sierra just nodded slowly. I heard voices too, she said, but mine didn't sound like anyone I knew. It sounded like me, screaming, from inside something, black. Just then, every streetlight on the block flickered on. No power for days, no grid. And yet, they lit up, one by one, like something had just flipped a switch. The hum followed, deep, low, vibrating through the pavement. We dropped flat as a cold breeze cut across the lot, even though the air had been dead still all morning. Then came the noise. It wasn't growling. It wasn't human. It sounded like a breath, long and slow, drawn in through the entire block, as if the city itself was inhaling. Then silence. A figure stepped onto the sidewalk across from us. Not a zombie, not quite human, smooth-skinned. No eyes, no face. A body shaped like us, but moving in a way no person should. Behind it, more appeared, one by one, climbing from storm drains, emerging from smashed doors, crawling down the church tower. They stood in silence, all facing the same direction. Not at us. At the moon, Sierra whispered. We gotta move. Now. Vic was already on it. He kicked down the back gate and waved us through. We bolted down the alley and didn't stop until the lights disappeared behind us. When we finally slowed, breathing hard and soaked in sweat, I looked back. Nothing followed. No one chased us. But I knew what we saw wasn't a dream or a side effect of fear. Something had woken up in this city, and it had only just started breathing. We stayed on the roof longer than we should have. The sun was barely cutting through the haze, but up there, with the city stretched out around us, it felt like we were back in the world again, like it wasn't crawling with things that didn't bleed right. But peace doesn't last. Vic leaned against the ledge, looking down at the windows below. They're not zombies, he said. No, I replied. They're not anything I've seen before. Every window on the project's top floors had a silhouette behind it, perfectly still, watching. Some were too tall, some too thin, none moved. They see us, Sierra whispered. That snapped us out of it. We needed to move. The map we found back in the depot showed a clear route from this complex down to the river, a sewer run that connected through old storm tunnels. Risky, yeah, but safer than going street level where the freaks and infected wandered free. The entrance? On the fifth floor. Vic shook his head when he heard that. Figures. Back in the stairwell, it was cold. Real cold. Each step down creaked like the bones of the building were cracking. My ears popped around floor 6. The air changed. Floor 5 smelled wrong. It hit me before we even opened the door. Like bleach, mold, and rust all mixed together. and beneath that, something sweet, like overripe fruit that had been left to rot. Sierra covered her mouth. Something died in there. Vic unslung his shotgun. Let's move quick. The hallway was pitch black. No windows, no light. Just one long stretch of carpet soaked through with a dark, sticky wetness. We stepped carefully. I kept my flashlight low, only flicking it on when we had to read the door numbers. We found the room unit 512. It looked like any other busted door in the building, except it wasn't broken open. It was sealed shut, with thick metal bars welded across it. Next to the frame, someone had scratched a message into the wall with a key. Do not open, not dead, not alone. Vic started working on the latch, torch, cutter, sparks bounced off the ground. Each one felt like a siren in the dark. Then we heard it, ticking, slow at first, then faster. It came from every door down the hall, like clocks going off out of sync. Some sped up, some slowed down, all of them building towards something. And then, all at once, it stopped. No warning, just silent, and a creak behind us. We turned. Every door in the hallway had opened an inch. Not fully, just enough for someone or something to look through. But nothing was there. Not yet. Vic cursed and pried the last bar free. We shoved open Unit 512 and locked it behind us. Inside was clean. Too clean. The walls were scrubbed, the floor bleached. A small table sat in the middle of the room with three items: a walkie-talkie, a bottle of water, and a dusty journal. Sierra grabbed the journal and flipped it open. The pages were full of frantic writing lines repeating over and over. The hollow speaks through the mirrors. They come when the clocks align. Atlanta isn't a place. It's a frequency. Vic looked at the walkie. It's on, he said. Power's running, but it ain't plugged into anything. Then it crackled. Not static. Not feedback. A voice. Mine. Chris, it said. If you hear this, run. Don't trust the walls. Don't sleep. They need dreams to open the doors. I froze. Sierra stepped back. That was you. But I didn't say that. Then all the clocks in the hallway went off at once. We heard the doors slam shut, and just outside the room, something heavy dragged itself across the carpet. The ticking was back, now joined by soft, wet breathing. Vic readied his gun, but I knew it wouldn't help. Whatever was coming wasn't from here. The moment that walkie-talkie spoke in my voice, the air changed. It wasn't static, wasn't an echo. It was me, same tone, same rasp I get when I've been running too long, but I'd never said those words. Don't trust the walls, don't sleep, they need dreams to open the doors. I backed away from it like it was a bomb. Sierra flipped through the journal again. These symbols, she whispered, they're repeating same triangle over and over, it's in every margin. Vic didn't look up, he was at the door, shotgun aimed. Y'all hearing that, right? We all stopped. The sound was back, dragging, heavy, wet, dragging, like meat bags across tile. Then a breath, not ours, not human. It exhaled through the doorframe like the building itself was wheezing. I moved to the window slit, peeled it wider. Same skyline, same buildings, but now they were pulsing. Lights in the windows blinked in sync, one by one, forming a pattern, like Morse code. They're trying to say something, Sierra said. No, Vic replied. They're counting. We needed to leave. Vic pried the door open slow. The hallway was empty, but not silent. That ticking noise had returned faster now, desperate, like something was running out of time. The doors were all closed now, and the mirrors turned outward. All of them. Every mirror on the hallway walls now reflected the three of us, but in every single reflection, there was a fourth shape standing behind us. Tall, eyeless, motionless. We bolted, sprinting down the hall, past sealed rooms and blinking lights. The air smelled like melting plastic and ozone. Halfway down the hall, Sierra grabbed my arm. Look, Unit 519. The door was wide open. Inside, the walls were covered in red paint or blood we couldn't tell. Dozens of messages were scrawled across the ceiling, written in reverse. Mirrors are gates. Time is a prison. You are already inside. Vic tugged me. Move! We hit the stairwell hard, spiraling downward with no plan except away. That's when the lights cut. Complete black. No sound, except our breathing and that ticking noise now coming from inside the walls. I pulled out my flashlight, but it flickered and died. Then the stairwell went cold, like freezer cold. A voice whispered into my ear, "Christopher." I turned, nothing there, but I could still feel hot breath on my neck. We burst into the third floor hallway, then the second, and finally out into the lobby. Only, the lobby wasn't the same. It was brighter, too bright, and full of people. Normal people, talking, laughing, children running through the hallway, music playing on a radio behind the desk, an old man playing checkers near the window. I stood frozen. Vic and Sierra looked just as shocked. "What is this?" Sierra asked. We hadn't seen this many people since the first week of the outbreak. I took a step forward. The woman at the front desk looked up at me and smiled. Then she blinked sideways. Not her eyes, her entire face. Like a glitch. The man at the checkerboard froze mid-move. The child stopped running mid-step, stuck in place like a broken game character. The lights above buzzed, then every bulb burst at once, and the illusion collapsed. We were back in the real lobby. Empty, blood-smeared, dead quiet. Whatever we saw wasn't real. Or it was. But from somewhere else, Vic looked sick. That place, I think it was a trap. Sierra held up the journal. The hollow creates illusions to lure people into rooms. Then it uses their dreams to make more doors. Doors to what? She didn't answer. We kicked out through the side entrance into daylight. Smoke still choked the skyline, but we could breathe again. Somehow, we made it out. But we weren't the same. That building wasn't haunted. It wasn't infected. It was alive. And now, it knew our names. We watched the figure for a long time. It didn't lunge or growl or stagger like the infected. It didn't twitch like the hollow. It just drifted. Its hoodie flapped in the wind, torn across the back. No visible wounds, no blood, no eyes. But something about the way it moved chilled me worse than any runner we'd seen. Sierra whispered, "What is that?" "Don't know," Vic muttered, "but it don't want food." That part was true. The thing passed a dead body, slumped against a SEPTA bench, and didn't even flinch, just floated by like it didn't even see it, or like it had already seen too much. We ducked low behind an overturned ice cream truck. I peered around the dented bumper, watching the figure as it stopped at a trash fire in a barrel, extended both hands toward the heat, then stood there, perfectly still, like it remembered fire. "Keep it moving," I told Vic and Sierra. "Quiet." We crept down Baltimore Ave, cutting behind a busted Dollar General and across a narrow alley lined with broken scooters and shattered beer bottles. The air smelled like burnt plastic and death. That's when we heard the sound again. Not a growl, not footsteps. Wheels, soft and steady, like a shopping cart rolling over gravel. Vic raised his gun. "You hear that?" Sierra nodded, pointing. "There by the cleaners." Out from behind a rusted Payless Dry Cleaners, an old man rolled into view pushing a squeaky wire cart. His clothes were layered flannel, jackets, a trash bag wrapped like a poncho, and his face was gaunt but not infected, not hollow. Alive. He didn't react to us, just kept pushing the cart, one squeaky wheel turning awkwardly. But his cart wasn't full of supplies. It was full of mirrors. Shards, frames, compact ones. Handheld, some cracked, some pristine, dozens of them, all pointed outward. He stopped when he reached a patch of sidewalk with faint chalk writing still visible. "Only walk forward, they follow through the glass." Then the old man slowly turned his head and stared right at me. His eyes were milky white, clouded with cataracts, but somehow I knew he could see me. "Your face ain't yours no more," he said. I froze. "What?" "You walk past them shadows and they start taking pieces. First your voice, then your name, then your shape. You ever look in a mirror and blink late?" Sierra stepped back. "He's crazy." "No," I whispered. "He's seen it." Vic lowered his weapon. "Who are you?" He didn't answer, just pointed to the cart of mirrors. "Keep one, not to look, just to know what's behind you." On me. He turned away and pushed off into the fog. The cart squeaked for a while, then vanished into the haze. We didn't speak. We just moved. By mid-morning, we reached a block of abandoned row homes near 45th and Larchwood. The buildings were scorched, but one had a door hanging open. Inside, the stairs had collapsed, but the basement was accessible through a side door. We needed rest. I checked the corners. No infected, no signs of hollow, just old food wrappers, a broken flashlight, and two moldy sleeping bags. Sierra curled up near the boiler. Vic stood watch at the narrow basement window. I sat in the corner, eyes scanning the darkness. That's when I saw it. Not movement, reflection. In a shard of glass on the floor, just inches from my boot, I saw my face. But it didn't blink when I did. Didn't breathe when I did. Didn't move when I did. I stared into it, heart pounding, unable to look away. And then it smiled. I kicked the shard across the room. Vic jumped. What the hell? Sierra sat up fast, gasping. I didn't say a word, just sat there, heart hammering in my chest, and listened to the wind whistle through the busted vents. This city was losing its shape, and I was starting to lose mine with it. You ever walk into a place and feel like it was waiting on you? That's what Drexel felt like. Not haunted, not hollow, just expectant. The streets were empty, but every window felt like an eye. Blinds barely cracked, shadows that didn't move. Campus signs still flapped in the breeze. Spring orientation, welcome week 2024, and one banner that just said, prepare for the shift. We crossed the quad slow. The sun was pushing up behind the skyline now, but no warmth came with it, just this dry heat that clung to the back of your tongue. Vic kept his shotgun at his hip, eyes sweeping the buildings. Sierra clutched her mirror shard like it was a crucifix. Me, I just counted the seconds between footsteps. The library was the only building that didn't look bombed out or burned through. Its glass doors were still intact, dusty but not cracked. That alone made it suspicious. Inside, it was cold. Not AC cold, sub-level cold, like the temperature dropped on purpose. The lobby was empty, books scattered, desks overturned. Someone had painted every window black from the inside. The main desk computer was still on, humming softly with a green screen of code none of us could read. Basement, Sierra said. If anyone's still here, they're hiding down there. I hated basements. We took the stairs. Every step creaked, lights flickered, the kind of ambiance horror movies exaggerate, except this time it was all real. In the stairwell, graffiti coated the walls in vertical strips, more triangle patterns, eyes, doors, a phrase repeated over and over. Know your shape. I still don't know what that means. The basement smelled like wet wood and burnt hair. Floodlights flickered weakly overhead, illuminating a study hall turned bunker. Rows of chairs had been turned sideways to form makeshift walls. Blankets hung from pipes above. Pages of textbooks were taped into spirals across the walls, each page highlighted, underlined, defaced with red ink. The far corner had a mirror shrine. 6 mirrors, one full body, 5 handhelds, all pointed at a single chair in the center. The chair was empty, but something had been sitting there recently. The air around it was warm, like someone had just stood up. Vic whispered, "This ain't right." Sierra moved closer to the wall of pages. "These are notes, rituals. Whatever was down here wasn't just hiding, they were studying them." "Studying what?" I asked. She didn't get the chance to answer. A scream ripped through the room. Not human, not infected, something in between. We ran. Up the stairs, out of the library, back into the sunlight, if you could call it that. The sky was orange-gray now, sun bleeding through the smoke, ash fell like snow. On the steps behind us, a figure appeared. Blonde hair, hoodie, backpack slung over one arm. It was me, but not me. It smiled, then stepped backward into the shadow of the doorway and vanished. I didn't speak the rest of the block. Neither did Sierra. Vic just kept moving like nothing had happened. But something had. Something followed us out. Near the edge of campus, we found an abandoned ROTC supply van flipped on its side. Inside were a few rations, a first aid kit, and a battery-powered radio. Vic got it working. Static buzzed, then a voice. "Repeat. This is Station Redbird. Safe zone status. Atlanta still active. Grid perimeter holding. Transmitting coordinates hourly. If you can hear this, you are not alone." We looked at each other. "Atlanta's still real," I said, my voice dry. Sierra just nodded, but none of us smiled, because to get there, we'd have to go through the rest of Philly. And something out here had already tasted our reflection. We should have never looked back. Gray's Ferry felt cursed the moment we crossed into it. The air changed, not just colder, but heavier. My breath fogged up in front of me, even though it was pushing mid-June. The buildings leaned toward us like they wanted to whisper something. Every sign was rusted, every window either smashed or miraculously untouched, and those were the ones you didn't want to look into. We stuck to the shadows, avoided mirrors, avoided reflections, avoided eye contact with the city itself. But then we passed an old storefront, and Vic froze. Chris, he said, quiet, look, I didn't want to, but I did. It was a full window, still mostly clean, just a little dust, no cracks. It showed the three of us walking past, except our reflections weren't walking in sync. Mine lagged half a step. Vic's was staring at him, and Sierra's was smiling. She wasn't smiling. End of the. We backed up, quick and quiet. I threw my jacket over the glass. I'm done, Sierra muttered. She dropped her mirror shard onto the sidewalk. It didn't break, just spun in a slow circle before coming to a dead stop pointed directly back at the window. I didn't tell her that. End of the. We kept pushing, crossing through busted fences and side yards until we reached an old parking lot. A banner on the side of the building said, "We're still open," but that was a lie. Every door was chained, every car stripped to its frame, every trash can still burning low with oily smoke. The smell of burned plastic mixed with something sweeter like melted candy. It made my head swim. Then we heard it. Static. Soft at first, like a far-off speaker caught between stations, then louder, closer, almost rhythmic. Sierra clutched her ears. What is that? Vic tilted his head. It's us. What? It's our voices, he said. That same sentence, over and over. I listened close. And yeah, it was me, on loop. Don't look back, don't look back. Except it was slowed down, distorted, and then it stopped. End of the. At the far end of the lot, we found a concrete stairwell, graffitied to hell with a phrase we'd seen too many times. Know your shape. Vic didn't want to go in, but the street behind us had started to flicker, literally. 1 second, it was there. Next, the sky darkened, the buildings flickered like an old VHS tape, and the lights changed color. It was like the city glitched. So we took the stairs. End of the. The underground garage was silent. No dripping, no growls, just that thick air, full of electricity and dust. My flashlight caught the outline of old chalk drawings on the ground. Children's drawings. Spirals. Triangles. Some were made with something darker than chalk. We passed an overturned Prius, and Vic stopped dead. There was a mirror propped against the wall behind it. Full length, untouched. We looked in, and we saw us, except we weren't doing the same thing. My reflection had its mouth open. Vic's was pointing at the ceiling. And Sierra's, she wasn't there. Up, Vic shouted. We turned our lights to the rafters, and that's when it dropped. End of the. It wasn't a runner. It wasn't a crawler. It wasn't hollow either. This was something else. It moved smooth, like it knew us already, like it had watched. No eyes, just a dent where the face should be, smeared over like wet clay. Its hands were too long, legs bent backward like a deer's. We didn't fight. We ran. End of the. Out the garage, into the smoke-brushed daylight. I swear the sun hadn't moved in hours, just sat there, low and sickly. We ducked behind dumpsters, crossed alleys, kicked open doors that led nowhere. And finally, we collapsed behind a half-eaten billboard near a broken daycare. We didn't say anything for 5 minutes, just breathed. Vic finally looked at his hand. 3 long scratches, deep, fresh, shaped like a triangle. Didn't even feel it, he said. Sierra wouldn't look at him. Me? I watched the mirror shard she dropped earlier, the one I secretly picked up. It was cracked now, but my reflection still smiled. Even when I didn't. I didn't sleep after that dream. None of us did. Not really. We were up before dawn, stuffing what little gear we had into torn duffel bags and military packs. Vic cleaned his shotgun. Sierra stared out the cracked bar window, whispering to herself. She didn't realize she was doing it. I stepped outside. The air was thick, not smoky wet, like the city had started to sweat. Steam rose from the manholes. Somewhere in the distance, a horn kept honking over and over, stuck in the same rhythm like a broken signal. The sun hadn't broken the skyline yet, just a pale blue glow curling up behind the towers. Time to move. We stuck to Washington Avenue, weaving through debris and overturned food trucks. The streets got quieter the farther south we walked, like even the infected didn't want to be out this far. Near Snyder Station, we saw the bus. Still upright, engine cold, but its doors were open, and every window was covered on the inside and with foil. Not cardboard, not wood, just layered strips of foil. Sierra stared at it. Why foil? Vic shrugged. Stop something from seeing in? Or out, I muttered. We didn't go in. Around 6th and Wolf, we met our first human in days. He was maybe 16, perched on the back of a flattened car with a flare gun in his lap. His shoes didn't match. He wore a fireman's coat with the word "Believe" written across the back in black paint. He didn't say anything, just nodded toward the alley ahead and whispered, "You'll need this more than me." Then handed Sierra a single bullet, .308, still warm. We never saw him again. The last mile was the worst. We hit Oregon Avenue, where the buildings dropped low and the wind picked up hard off the river. The pavement had started to crack open like something underneath was growing. Everything in this part of the city had been painted over in bright white symbols, triangles, spirals, eye shapes with mirrored dots in the center. Some of them still dripped. Then we saw it, the exit, a collapsed chain link fence pulled open at the side, revealing a long, muddy service road leading to I-95 south. Past that, open land, burnt forests, then horizon, and maybe, just maybe, a shot at Atlanta. We crossed the threshold like stepping through a doorway. The moment we did, the sound of the city changed. Behind us, it went quiet. Totally, impossibly silent. Even the wind stopped. Vic turned around, slowly. So did I. The city wasn't there. Not like before. Philly was still standing, but it looked faded, like a memory wearing thin. And in the middle of the street, about 100 yards back, stood someone wearing my hoodie. Same bloodstains, same tear at the shoulder, same face. But the eyes were gone, just a blur of motion where they should have been. It raised a hand, not to wave, to point. Vic grabbed my arm. Don't, but it was too late. The reflection stepped backward and vanished into the haze. We didn't stop walking after that, didn't talk, didn't check mirrors, didn't even breathe heavy until we were 2 miles out and the trees swallowed the skyline behind us. We finally set up camp near a crushed Wawa on the edge of a forest reserve. It still had trail mix and water bottles untouched. Guess nobody wanted snacks after watching the world end. That night, Sierra took first watch. Vic passed out mid-cleaning his shotgun. Me? I found a cracked rearview mirror in one of the wrecked cars. I looked into it, and for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I saw only myself. But for how long? We got out of Philly. But that city took a piece of us. The hollow, the mirrors, they don't just watch, they wait. And I got a feeling they remember every step we took. We're heading south now, chasing a signal, chasing hope, chasing a lie? I don't know. But if Atlanta's still standing, then maybe we've got one last shot. Stick close, keep your eyes forward, and whatever you do, don't look back. Whispers Between Worlds, uploading daily.